Hi, Natalia. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here
Yes.
today.
Yes. So, Natalia, I mean, you've been in e-commerce and marketing, specifically in fashion, for quite a while, but you took a major leap this year, deciding to launch your own business, right? So, I'm always interested why senior executive in larger companies are making the decision, trying to take the risks, and building their own business. So, I'd love to learn more about your journey and that you know you reach a decision to do this move, and also share with us about NC&Co and what do you do.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, yes, it's a huge decision, and I think stepping away from a very secure and sort of financial way of being able to have a salary every month is probably the biggest reason why it's taken me so long to make that decision. But I suppose I haven't had over 10 years experience in digital marketing, primarily in sort of luxury fashion, lifestyle and beauty brands. I graduated with a fashion degree, and so it only felt right to kind of go into that. And I originally thought I was going to perhaps be working on TV ads or sort of doing campaigns, but I fell into doing digital marketing. And because I love looking at data, but also having a creative aspect to it, I have loved doing digital marketing ever since. And so over the past 6 years, I helped to scale up the luxury division at the Hug Group, or as some of you may know it being THG. It's had a couple of rebrands. And in that time, I sort of worked with some household name brands, with beauty, luxury fashion, and homeware brands. Some of those that hopefully some of the audience may know, such as Rikso, Ganni, represent. They're having a huge moment at the moment called Beauty, Le Creuset, and so on. And really, I like to set myself goals. I'm sort of quite an objective driven individual. And I think I actually enjoy the journey of getting to the goal so much more than when I get there, I don't take the time to appreciate being in the moment of achieving that goal. So it's definitely something I need to work on. But last year, it kind of got to be a bit of a pivotal moment for me whereby I recognized that all my experience and scaling up the team at the Hug Group and sort of really getting some amazing numbers was, I suppose, perhaps not enough for me from the corporate world point of view. I really, as a female, I think being a mum one day is slightly overwhelming with the fact that corporate world doesn't really, in my opinion, provide you with that. I think, not having flexibility, having a huge team to manage, and being in the office all the time just doesn't quite fit in the being a mum bill too. And so I stepped away from having a monthly check every month, and set up NC&Co this year. And sort of I'm 7 months into the journey, and whilst it's taken some time last year to set up things in the background, because I quite like to have things a certain way, it has been a huge journey. And I'm grateful for the opportunities I have, whilst it's sometimes been a little bit challenging as well.
Yes, for sure. So you wanted to create a better quality of life, I assume, manage your time and try to spend more time work versus life, right?
I think you absolutely, and do you know what? I think digital marketing is probably one of the most exciting jobs and careers you can choose because it's ever changing. It keeps you on your
Hmm.
toes. You're always learning something new, and no 2 days are the same. So I love that, and having the passion for it has really helped me to continue that without being in a corporate world. And flexibility is quite huge for me. I like the idea of going out for a dog walk during my lunch break. And so, whilst perhaps the hours aren't quite as set, and it's definitely not a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I like the idea that I can do the work to suit around my schedule, and sometimes, not feeling like you need to go into the office. I love being around people, and that's why I always schedule networking calls and attend networking events, but I don't necessarily feel like somebody else is having to tell me what to do.
Yeah, nice, nice. I think the founder story is very, very important today. I think more than ever, because the founder story is, we can call it also founder-led growth, right? Is
Yeah.
one of the key important probably differentiation for you versus your competition, right? So it's no longer the services or the products, because primarily, I guess, it's not the feature set that is winning, but it's more the building of the relationship, the confidence consumers have. And I'm really interested in your personal story, because you have that fashion background and totally excited about digital marketing. When in the career you realize that digital marketing is so interesting, and obviously you're combining both of them together, like you're totally focused on this, on fashion and apparel, and also combining this with digital marketing. So tell us a little bit more about that, right? When you got introduced first time to the digital marketing world, and why you're so passionate about this topic.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And just to add as well, I think that this sort of female founding story, and me being sort of unique in the sense is that I'm super passionate about being a female, and I think this sort of female founded, female ran consultancy is definitely my motto, and I like to set my
Nice.
goals. So I would say that I really want to change the whole stat of less than 1% of female founders are VC backed. And I know that's a huge aim, but I really, really want to really reach high and change that. So then the workplace is a better place for us females. Um,
Yes.
just kind of wanted to add that on. But yeah, I think within digital marketing, really, my journey started as a CRM exec. And what I really love about the idea of businesses and brands growing in this wonderful digital aspect is that you have so many opportunities to reach an audience that may have never heard from you, that may be on the other side of the world, and you can talk to them how you want to portray your brand. And so I really got to know CRM quite quickly at the time working at Brown, where I started my graduate job. And I was very grateful that for established business, I was exposed to quite a lot of very, very highly skilled managers who taught me a lot about how to look at data, how to combine data with the creative aspect of what you do, and then together, how can you continue to do better campaigns in the future? Often, when we talk about digital marketing, a lot of it is performance channels, which means most of them you have to invest money in that.
Mhm.
Talking about paid social, Google Ads, and other channels. And so as a business and a brand, if you're investing money in marketing, you really have to understand whether it's worked for you or it hasn't, because sometimes too much, spending just money isn't going to get you farther, even though you think that might be the case. And so, what I love about digital marketing is educating people why doing paid social to drive traffic to their website is better to them than setting up Google Ads. Because actually, often people assume, and I've had that many times recently, that SEO is going to, make every business go viral overnight. And I really cannot stress enough how that is not going to happen. It's an organic channel. There's a reason why Google has launched Google Ads many years ago, because they realized that organic is a slow burner. And if you want to accelerate and scale up, you have to pay for it. In this day and age, unfortunately, everything you pay for, you sort of, in theory, get quicker results from. But I really do spend a lot of time with clients educating them on not just throwing loads of buzzwords, because that's what marketing is, unfortunately. You have to always educate yourself, but just actually how, what are your objectives in marketing? And I think through my career, being exposed to it from CRM all the way to doing loads of different campaigns with different brands, I found that the main, I suppose, challenge that brands always see is not understanding what they need to be doing. So they just assume they all need to be doing the same thing, but actually that's not the case.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not enough to copy what your competitor is doing, right? I mean, it's
exactly.
like hype is overrated, right? There's a lot of buzz. What's going on there? I want to do the same, right? But it's not, probably not. And definitely you can know this better than anyone because of your data background and your experience in the industry. So wow, it's really interesting. So the fashion experience, the data, digital marketing, all those years, and you launch NC&Co. So tell us more about NC&Co. What type of customers you're working with, and what type of services that you provide?
Sure. So I guess everyone always likes to or suggests and recommends that you niche down and that you focus on a industry or a couple of those. And whilst most of my experience does sit within luxury, fashion, lifestyle, and beauty, I didn't really want to just niche down because the USP of NC&Co is that having been exposed to marketing and strategizing it, but also optimizing and doing the day to day, we have got, and I and all the contractors I work with that are on board with me have got a very holistic approach to how each and one of the campaigns will help to get you to the end goal being conversion and sales and help to grow your business. So almost describing myself as an octopus, and I really have said this a few times now, so I don't know whether it's going to be a trademark, but you know, being a channel specialist, but within the whole ecosystem of digital marketing is our remit, because doing strategy doesn't just happen overnight if you don't know how to do the channel itself and you don't know how you have to optimize and set up campaigns. And so the aspect of the industries is quite wide. We've got customers from a pet accessories business all the way to healthcare. Most of it appears to be in D2C. There's very little B2B activity that we have done. But what I always say is that I have learned how to sell £1,000 coats to customers. And so
Wow.
nobody needs that. You don't ever need to buy or purchase £1,000 coat. And actually, that's why that holistic campaign is really important, because you're not just going to see one ad and convert there and then immediately. And so that's really what's helped me unpick all the different channels and now allows me to look at things very holistically, because if you have a lower AOV product, in theory, you still need to find your customers and know that they aren't just going to convert immediately unless you've discounted it, which doesn't often tend to be the case. And so very much so focusing on performance channels and organic channels. And within that, we've got that sort of paid social, paid ads, and Google ads, and then website optimization and SEO that comes into it too. And very much so, quite a wide range of customers who we love working with. I get to meet all the different clients, and hearing people being passionate about their business is the best thing I've ever done. And I love helping them grow and seeing how much NC&Co grows.
Wow. What was the most interesting, let's say, aspect of customers that you've realized when you move from an enterprise or from leading a team in an organization, and then start talking on a daily basis with a lot of brands, right? D2C brand. What share with us what you learned from this process, and what are you hearing in terms of what's happening in the market, some of the challenges and maybe opportunities out there?
I would say that, and actually, that SEO piece is probably the most prominent. Most clients that I speak with assume that their sort of shiny new website will just drive sales overnight.
Oh
And
yeah.
I always say it's not the case.
Yeah.
um, and I suppose I like to always explain it in like real life examples. I get that some of the marketing terms and campaigns, particularly in like Google Ads, can be overwhelming. So I always try and refer to it in real life terms. And so with the way I describe having a shiny website is like having a brand new Porsche or a really, really cool car, but not putting any petrol in it, so you can get anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
that's kind of the same way, you know, you have to drive traffic. Like, people aren't just going to magically open Google and type your brand name into the engine and hope, oh, what are the chances I've landed on this website that I was looking for the product? So that definitely has come up time and time again. And it takes a while to educate, you know, people that are so passionate about having a brand. And kudos to them for stepping out of the comfort zone and you know, starting a new product. I really admire that. But it's just, I guess, the not understanding of the fact that the website isn't going to be the one thing that's going to drive your performance, which I think is probably, I suppose, the most challenging one. And the biggest opportunity that seemed to be coming up time and time again is TikTok. I know that it's not going to be fitting within every demographic, and a lot sort of perhaps slightly older customers may dismiss it and don't really want to be on it. But I think that, you know, some examples such as Lux Collective, who which is run by Ben Gallagher, and that's a pre-loved luxury seller, has gone live on TikTok Shop, and they have been the most successful. They've seen the most success on that, and you wouldn't put TikTok Shop and pre-loved luxury in the same sort of room, because you just don't assume that anybody would want to buy a secondhand Ganni Gucci bag, on TikTok, because it's primarily buying the £1, you know, tripod that you can find that they tell you that you need. So I think that is actually a really good opportunity for a lot of businesses out there.
Yes, definitely TikTok is one place to grow organically, right? And you can try to figure out what's working and what's not, and then probably enhance it with ads.
Yes,
Yeah, and definitely I
absolutely.
know also in the UK, TikTok Shop is available, so plenty of
Yeah.
activities around that as well. I want to go back to two terms that probably you wanna trademark or coin. So it's one is that holistic or octopus type of strategy or marketing. What do you mean by that?
I guess I think that I actually used to refer to myself as an octopus in work, and I do feel like it's kind of carried with me, because I, since setting up the business objectives and, you know, very much defining the brand, the tone of voice, who I want to target, has obviously been quite a big journey. But I have found that being a huge expert in how to drive a 360 digital marketing campaign, so that an understanding of nobody knows about you as a brand, so let's target them with a paid social ad. They may through that land on your website, but aren't yet ready to convert, so they bounce off, and then perhaps in a week's time they may type into Google a slightly sort of higher intent keyword, being long cotton red dress. You know, that's relatively sort of key. They've made up their mind, this customer, that they want a specific item, that they're just not quite ready yet which brand they want to shop from. And if you so happen to shop that because you've already seen that paid social ad, then your Google ad would do its job there to get them to land on your website again. Hopefully on the website you'll have a pop-up with an email to say sign up now to get 10% off. This customer types into their email address, and the email workflow is set up to trigger immediately, because we hate when you give an email to get a discount and you wait and you never get the email, and then you get the email and you convert that way. That's actually 3 steps, probably spread over a number of days, that this customer has gone back. And that's not taken into consideration desktop versus mobile and so on. And so that's kind of how I look at marketing, and that's exactly how I always talk to my clients. You know, I am a channel specialist in paid social, Google ads, in, you know, sort of doing TikTok ads and optimizing on the website, because you're looking at it as you as a customer on how you convert. So you know, it's not just saying I am a channel specialist and I don't quite frankly care about what all that traffic that I've driven to your website is doing, because I've done my job. No, that it doesn't work like that. You know, it's the same way that you walk into a shop, and if there is no sales assistant to greet you, you'll walk straight back out. It's no different to how you look at it online. And so, yeah, I'm super passionate about it, looking at it from an overview of how you would convert if you were a customer. And if you always put yourself in the customer's shoes, then you always somehow get the ideas that you wouldn't have otherwise got. It's not that overcomplicated, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's makes a lot of sense, and it's so important to figure out and understand customer sentiment. And yeah, working with all these analytics, like attribution, is so difficult, right? And having this ability to try to holistically understand behaviors, and probably you do that through research, just going through this customer support ticket, working with the team to try to understand and figure out, and based on that to create more and more probably recommendation for improvement and campaign. And by the way, few fun facts about octopus. I think it's I think something that's first of all, it's a very, very smart, I don't know, it's creature, right? Much more smarter than everyone thought. Just
Yes.
yeah, and it's quite new, because throughout the last, I think, 20, 30 years, researchers thought it's kind of a dumb creature, but it's not. I mean, they start investigating, and they created few, like when they hunt and when they communicate, and so they created few researchers and put some, like blocks of wood, like in the middle, when they need to move from one place to the other, or build their own shelters, and they maneuvered them, and they were very, very creative and figure out solutions for everything. And they also have three hearts, right? So just very active on the mind and very emotional, I guess.
Oh
So
my
it's a very,
gosh.
yeah, it's a very good, use it. I try to use it in your logo, maybe. I think it's nice. I think
Yeah.
it's nice. Use it
I
more.
didn't I didn't quite that's amazing. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't realize this. I'm definitely I'd love to see that video of that octopus doing
Yes.
the blocks.
Yeah. I try to find it and send this to you. They
Yeah.
actually, and they build it in steps of difficulties, right? So
Okay.
assuming they were hiding somewhere, and they were throwing like fishes, because then they wanted to eat, of course. And they put some like blocks, and they've increased the complexity and the difficulty for the octopus to reach his, to eat. And they were able to overcome like 10 difficulties on the way, and then they figure out, whoa, this is something really, really unique, and they were really surprised. And now we know
Amazing.
that, yeah, it's really amazing
Oh,
creature.
well, thank
Really
you.
amazing.
That's very kind
Yeah.
for you to say, because I always think
Yeah.
I always think of an octopus as just somebody who's run around a bit
Hmm.
like a headless chicken. But think if you're
Exactly.
not knowing and being aware of it, one thing you have to do is you really have to blow your own trumpet, because nobody's behind you saying, "You're great, you keep going." When you have a team of full-time people behind you. So I have found that you have to do it, because if you don't do it, nobody else will. So
Yeah.
perhaps I've just given myself the biggest compliment by calling myself an octopus.
Yes. 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 Much more than you thought, right? So
Yeah,
do
yeah.
some research. I will try to send this video. So, from your experience in the last decade in the luxury, fashion, beauty sectors, what was the major changes or major evolutions of digital marketing throughout this decade in this sector?
I guess I'd hate to use the word COVID, because we're so over it now. It
Yeah.
happened what
Yeah,
feels
it
like a
took us 24 minutes to reach the COVID, so it's okay. So really, I'm really impressed. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be super quick with that one. It definitely has, I suppose, highlighted a lot of risks for a lot of people.
Hmm.
I think that when your brand is growing, and is growing quite substantially in a short space of time, whether that's online or offline, you never really take the time to stop and think what you should and could be doing better. And I think complacency is probably the biggest failure as to why brands aren't continuing to grow. And I think when COVID happened, so many brands would think that they still had time to adjust and adapt digitally, but unfortunately, a lot of them didn't.
Hmm.
Obviously, particularly in the UK, we weren't allowed to shop and ship customers' orders because of all the challenges. So a lot of brands obviously had to close. anyway. But then post that and allowing workers to go into warehouses and therefore ship orders, it really did prove how much people wanted to spend money on things online.
Yeah.
So I definitely would say that COVID, it was the best thing that's happened to a lot of businesses, because businesses scaled up online. And I think now with Shopify, a lot of businesses are able to go and do DTC without having to rely on wholesaling. Probably more so in the fashion space than beauty, perhaps. But, you know, if you think about you being quite a small business and not maybe having a huge amount of SKUs, you want to be able to have all the margins, so then you have that margin to be able to spend money on marketing. And obviously we know that the minute you go wholesale, you kind of get that margin erode to your sort of bottom line. So I would probably say that since COVID happened, D2C has seen quite a big growth. But also, to your point earlier on in the call, that sort of founder story, and very much so leading with authenticity. Unfortunately, we've seen many of in the luxury fashion space, actually, retailers struggling to stay afloat, and a few of them are no longer on the sort of high street. But I think that actually stems back to the whole point about not having anybody to do authenticity. And something that keeps coming up as well, and that I think will continue to accelerate, is EGC, which is employee generated content, as well as UGC. And I think that really showcases, you know, you want to know who's behind this brand, because the more you can connect with the story as to why someone's produced a product, so you're not just buying, and it's that whole sort of fast fashion approach to things in life, is what will make you connect with this person and therefore probably shop from the brand. So I probably would say that the sort of COVID digitalization of growing D2C brands and making everything authentic is what's happened over the past decade, definitely.
Well, interesting. You mentioned EGC, so all this employee advocacy, I think it's a big opportunity for everyone, right? And
Yeah.
getting those authentic stories of behind the scenes, what this company is all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and you know, having somebody to talk you through, like, if you're, even for employees, actually employers looking to employ new people, it's not just tapping into D2C and sort of any brands. It's actually helping businesses grow too, because people can see what the office looks like. People can see that there are normal people in the office there. You know, it's not just, God forbid, AI and you know, chatbot and everything. So yeah, I think that is quite a big thing for both businesses that sell services and physical products as well.
Interesting. So a quick recap. I mean, we covered holistic marketing and the octopus, obviously. We talked about TikTok, and you mentioned how great channel it is. So let's assume a new brand comes to you, whether it's a new launch, a new brand, or a new product line, or a new bundle from an existing established brand. What will be like going into second half of 2024? What will be your, just walk us through maybe a successful launch of a campaign. What is the like the major steps, and what are your main recommendation in terms of channels and investments?
$1 million question, and I definitely would say one size doesn't fit all.
Mhm.
My first question is always, what is your objective? You know, what are we trying to do? You mentioned have to. So hopefully that means that with everyone, the time of the year, particularly going into peak, intent to purchase tends to be much higher, because you're buying presents, you're treating yourself. It's a very busy period, particularly in Q4. So let's say, for this sake, to kind of answer your question, we're talking about, of course, driving conversions and looking to accelerate the business to really scale it up from a revenue point of view. I would say that depending on what product you're selling and where your target audience is, I always first and foremost look at your current data, because hopefully you will have some of it or enough of it where we can start to understand where the customer is that you're looking to target. A lot of the times people assume that a customer is a person, and it ends up being a very different person, and that's okay, because we do need revenue from different means, and putting all eggs in one basket, we all know, never works. But I suppose the starting point is looking at the data. Once we've looked at the data, if there is enough, I then always say that perhaps paid social is a very reasonably quick way of getting increased traffic to your website. From that, you can then hopefully have a good and well optimized website whereby once the customer lands, depending on the product, offers, they're not ideal, but around peak, you have to, in order to stay competitive, you have to offer something, even if that's just a new customer code. And because a lot of retailers, unfortunately, do that, and it does become really competitive and quite busy. And so website optimization, looking at your keywords, making sure that those are there, and knowing that SEO is not going to be this sort of quick win, but it is still extremely important to have. From a paid social point of view, I would say creative is the most important thing. So actually, can we, and do you already work with influencers? If not, highly recommend that you do, because I always look at it from a sort of two-pronged approach. In you set a campaign live and your creative is awful, it doesn't tell anybody that sees the ad about who you are as a brand, what you sell, and the customer's totally lost. And so the creative piece is huge in that, and that's the first starting point. From that, comparing what influencer creates versus what you would do in a sort of studio costing is really expensive compared to paying an influencer just to create a very authentic, going back to that authenticity piece of content that will most of the time actually outperform, how to style, how to use this beauty product. They're very interactive and very, very good. And often it's nice to see somebody who's relatable rather than a model, which everyone wants to look like, but actually we all know that it's Instagram.
It's not working anymore, right? This
no.
new generation of buyers, Gen Zs and all that, they can figure this out like in 1 millisecond, right?
Exactly. They've totally broken the marketing funnel, and how we, it isn't straight from A to B to C. It's like here, they're everywhere. So yeah, that. And then finally, obviously, not to forget to mention TikTok Shop and general TikTok. As you noted, it's actually relatively, I say easy. It's not easy, but it's a low entry to try and go viral on TikTok. You have to be consistent with it, and you have to bear in mind an SEO ranking. So whatever it is that you want to come across on your video, you have to have the text written over your either video or your static image. And if you're doing a video when you're talking, if you want to portray the message or the product you're offering, you keep having to repeat yourself. So then the platform knows that that's what you're talking about. And TikTok really can be quite a huge opportunity for any brands. It's just being consistent at it, and being there, engaging with other people, commenting on other people, saving other people's content. So there's a few different stages here, I suppose, and how I like to break it down is, where are we going to get the traffic from? Because, again, we know that we need to be probably paying for some of the traffic. Once the traffic lands on site, is the website most optimized to convert the user? And if the user doesn't convert, do we have things set up in the pipeline to retarget that user? So then, because they have shown potential higher intent to purchase because they've landed on your website, they've browsed your product, how do we retarget them in, say, 30 days to get them to convert? Hopefully all happens in that 6 months period. And we have conversions, and the performance is great.
Wow. Sounds amazing plan, and I think it also gives all these workarounds and backups if something gets wrong on the way, right? So
Exactly.
that's a very, very important component that I think is very, very smart that you are implementing. Wow, great, Natalia! It's super, super interesting. Anything that you want to add?
I guess I probably would say to anyone who's listening, don't be afraid to test and learn. I cannot stress to enough people how important it is to look at, however small the data is, test new things. Don't just think that your brand can't be on TikTok or that you're too old to be on TikTok yourself. You have to stay not even ahead, because that it feels like quite a lot of pressure, but try and do things that people are trying and seeing how it works, because sometimes the things you may not expect to do well end up doing really, really well. So I really would highly recommend that anyone test and learn as much as possible, because it's ever changing and we need to stay on top of it.
Yeah, very, very smart. And Natalia, how people can find you and learn more about NC&Co?
So I'm on Instagram at Natalia Chappell Co. I am also on LinkedIn. Anyone who would like to connect with me, please do so at Natalia Chappell. And the website is nataliachappell.co.uk, where you can find my email address as well.
Great, Natalia. And now, last thing, I saw your latest post on LinkedIn about all these fun things that you do. So I have the fun fact section of the podcast, right? So I know you have a lot of things to share. So maybe you choose a few and share with the audience more about fun facts about yourself.
Great. Yeah. So one of the facts actually is that I'm bilingual, and going back to your point about the octopus piece and having three hats, I actually met a heart surgeon who said that people who are bilingual are more likely to take risks, which I thought was really interesting, because
Wow.
I sort of always think, oh well, bilingual is not that cool or a fun fact. But it was really interesting him saying that people that are more likely to be able to speak more than one language are sort of risk takers. And another one is I've lived in 4 countries.
4 countries. Which one?
Poland, France, and Scotland and England.
Wow. And currently you're in Manchester, right?
Yes, I'm based in Cheshire, so about 40 minutes south of Manchester.
Okay. And it's something temporary, or is it looking for your 5th country to stay? Or what?
I think that I'm quite happy and settled here, and I would hope to call it home forever. I'm not keen on the weather, but you can have it all in life.
Yes. Thank you so much, Natalia. It was really a pleasure and very, very interesting. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been great chatting to you.
Yes. Bye-bye.